Hey, what's going on? Today is February 20th, and you are listening and watching The Daily AI Show live. And then if you happen to be looking at our screen today, we kind of want to talk about an interesting idea that Sam Altman brought up on a recent conversation he was having. I don't remember exactly where he said it. He's been out in the news quite a bit and talking, which is fantastic. You always get to learn a lot about where his brain is as far as agents and everything else. But today we want to talk about this concept of the one-person unicorn. And what do we mean by that? Like, well, could you hypothetically build a unicorn status company, so a $1 billion valuation with one single person? Now, to expand on that real quick so we can dive into, because this is a fun conversation today about who's that person, guy or girl, what would it take to do that? But we don't have to stick with one, because I think even Sam was saying him and some tech buddies, they have sort of an internal pool about when they think that might happen. But he also said, like, what about a 10-person company, right? And we've actually seen in the past, we've seen close to or similar to that. I think famously they said Instagram only had, 12 employees? I read it in an article today. 13 employees. So there you go, like when they sold to Meta, to Facebook. So, and then there were some other examples of like dating apps and things like that where one single person had built something and eventually sold it. Also, some asterisks in here that we have to throw out at the top, because then we have to get into defining, well, hold on a second, what does this mean? And here's an asterisk that I thought was great from Forbes. And I want to call out the author because it was a fantastic article. Paolo Confino, Confino. I read it on Yahoo Finance, but it said it was originally in Forbes, and it was a great discussion of this whole idea. And the reason I want to bring up this asterisk is, well, okay, hold on now. If you're like, I'm going to do it, I'm the right person, we're going to talk about what it would take. But if I'm the right person, Jyunmi's like, I'm doing this. By the way, we have Beth, Andy, Jyunmi, and I'm Brian. I always like to say kind of jumped right into this one because I like this conversation. But if Jyunmi's like, I'm going to do it. Okay, hold on now. If Jyunmi does it and he gets unicorn status and he's like, I did it, I'm the only person, but he hired 20 1099s to do different parts of it. In this, Paolo in the article says, I give them an asterisk. I'm not saying it's not impressive, but I'm giving them an asterisk. You got the Mark McGuire asterisk on that one, So that's sort of the start of this conversation. I think this is a really fun conversation because what I love to do and kind of what Paolo did in this article, and I want to hear your guys, is like, who's this unicorn, guy or girl? What would it take? What kind of personality does this person have to be? Do they have to be, first and foremost, an amazing seller? Do they have to be an influencer? Do they have to have universal appeal? Do they have to have a stellar YouTube channel and have a presence? Do they need to have that? Is it a software-based company? What are they building? Is it something where they can iterate over to and they're just making updates to it, which would perhaps lean towards being able to do it and handle that with AI? So there's a lot to unpack here, but I just wanted to throw that out as the start of the conversation. Like, this is what we're talking about. Maybe not just a one person, maybe a 10-person billion-dollar unicorn company, but also what would it take? Who's that person that's going to do it? And Paolo says, and he was quoting other people, saying that this is technically possible with today's technology. The quote was, it wasn't his, but technology is waiting on us, not the other way around. I don't know where I lean on that, because I think agents need to come along, but let's open it up for conversation. And Karl has also joined us as well. So I don't know, Jyunmi, you look like...
First of all, Brian, I'll take the asterisks. Any day, anytime, I'll take the asterisk, no problem. I'll be the first to get the technically billion-dollar valuation. I'll take it. I can have that footnote in history. I don't mind. But I will say, what excites me most about this concept, and like you said, this is a really fun concept to ideate on, is the technology, or at least we can envision the technology that will that enables us to do this, right? We can all see that AI can fulfill lots of roles and take on lots of the tasks and those mundane steps that that businesses have to deal with every day. In that same article, because I read the same article, they had the concept of a 3-person unicorn.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one. We might see these steps. We'll have the 10-person unicorn, and then we'll have the 3-person unicorn, and then we'll have the 1-person unicorn.
Right.
Asterisk or no. But they identified the 3 areas that this 3-person unicorn would be. One is the visionary. It's the visionary founder. Then there's the numbers person and the words person. I think that's a great breakdown that they identified, because whenever I've worked with founders, they all have this mission or goal or vision of what they're trying to do, and they're the best at that because they feel that, and it's usually there's a great deal of passion behind it, and they put a lot of energy into it, and some have called it a calling or what. Just they want to manifest what that idea in their head is out into the world, and so they fulfill that visionary slot. I would love to always have a numbers person that I work with, because I feel I'm more on the visionary side and less on the numbers. So if there's someone who's just a whiz with the numbers and knows how to crunch them the right way and everything's like, okay, I want to work with you. And the words person, like Brian, a lot of the stuff that I've read of yours, I really like what you come out with. So I'm like, yeah, I need someone who can speak really well and put it on paper, so
I'm
to
a hype
speak, and
man.
get it out there. Right?
Yeah, I'm a hype man. When you need to get a crowd, lathered up into a tizzy. That's where I come in, and then I'm off the stage. Nobody wants me on the stage longer. Nobody wants to say, "Hold on, Brian, we had some concerns about your last quarterly report." I'm gone. I'm not even on the stage. Elvis has left the building. I'm there for the hype.
Hey,
and then I'm turning it over to Andy.
Everybody needs their DJ Khaled, another one. I'm there. So I think identifying that those are 3 key pillars of however you break down a business is going to be the key to being able to go on to that next step. And when you pointed out that is the tech right now, or are there elements that we still need to see? And I agree. The agents, a true stable and interactive agent is probably that key step, that key, I think so, turnover to really get people off the starting line with this concept. Not to say they couldn't do it now. I think it would require more automation and more time from the founders. But yeah, I think we're right there at that cusp where it's like, okay, someone just needs to find some really good implementation of what exists and take advantage of whatever that next piece of the tech is that's going to unlock the whole roadmap at this point.
We had that conversation. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say really quick. You guys, didn't you say yesterday? I was listening in on the show yesterday. Beth, Andy, and Jyunmi. You guys did a great job talking about character AI. Did I hear you guys say that they reached $1 billion status? Character AI.
Well, they got $1 billion valuation from jump. Really,
they're worth many more than $1 billion now.
Well, sure, but I'm curious of like literally a site, right? Could something of like that had been built by one person and it catch fire?
Mm-hmm.
And get there. I don't know. Sorry, Karl. Go ahead.
Well, we had this discussion I think last week on what was the foundations of custom GPTs, then the at mentions, but then all you need is those agents to be able to do things. So just going back to that conversation where you have quote unquote CFO that you've created, a CFO agent, then you have a marketing agent, then you have people agent. And we were making fun where that CFO, you just gave instructions. I need you to ensure that we have a robust financial program. Then your marketing person. But the funny thing is, what if that person comes back and says, hey, to complete this, I can complete 80% of it or 60% of it, but I need 40% still done by manual. like manually done. So here's my recommendation to hire these type of people. You hire those people. Technically, they report not to you, to your agent. And then your agent, so your council, your executive team is literally a bunch of agents, and you give them directions, and the agent would then direct the people that you've hired to go and execute certain tasks. So technically now you have employees that report to AI. And so we were going down that.
This is the monkey fingers show, right?
Yes. These are the monkey fingers that we had to do. So I could just see you as the CEO with your agents as your executives, and if like one website, one something that could blow up, all you need is to get a $1 billion valuation. Your company what is it, 10x? So it's 100 million potential ARR. So it's like direct to consumer, some sort of thing that they keep going, like, they subscribe to or buy, run by your agents. I could see that for sure. That's just one of your executive team. You still need the monkey fingers, but other than that, that's it. Anyway, just it was funny just going back to that topic. And
I want to say, Karl, that you've hit on what I think is the essential thing to the accomplishment of this very high market cap per employee measure. And whether it's for one employee or for 10 employees, we don't really care. And I'm going to share with you some numbers I whipped up using Perplexity and ChatGPT about market cap per employee for the top 10 most valuable companies in just a moment. So hang on. But what Karl's saying is there has to be an idea for a viral consumer product that people are willing to pay for, that is delivered effectively by digital. Right? It doesn't have to be laboriously produced by a bunch of people, with monkey fingers. So the idea is essential. And I don't see how anyone could approximate these very, very high market caps per employee without having a breakthrough kind of idea that way. So I was just trying to think of one. A simple example might be, okay, there are a bunch of big multi-billion-dollar matching companies out there to try to find you a mate. Well, what if you could get something where you basically subscribe to and are interviewed by an AI, and then you pay a small amount of money, say $5 a month, to be given your matches from other people who are being interviewed, and they've been vetted by the AI, and there's some kind of validation process that makes sure that there are very, very few incidents of trolling and or nefarious players on that platform. So now you've got the sort of the idea of something that might be driven by AI and could be launched by a person using the council of agents as Karl described. So that's really, really the key. Now, just for context, getting $1 billion per employee in market capitalization can be happening early on in that process because market cap is different from profit. Mm-hmm. Market cap is a combination of the probable profitability of a company and its growth potential. So again, it has to be viral. It has to reach a very large market in order to be given a high valuation early on in the process. And you're right, Karl, it probably is only a forecast $100 million annually with roadmap ahead to further growth to get to that billion valuation in the eyes of the venture capitalists who are going to give that to the one person who's patented that idea, has protection, has figured out a way to deliver it economically. And so you have a high margin business that's going to grow crazily and it's going to be worth many more than $1 billion. But right now it's just one person and $1 billion is given to them. In actual fact, the investment would be made in such a way that the venture capitalists give the employee, that valuation and the cash, but they don't actually get the $1 billion up front. The $1 billion is going to be used to grow to reach the ultimate valuation, which is probably $100 billion or whatever. Yeah. So now, here are the top 10 companies I could actually share my screen here, but I think I'll just speak to it for a moment because it's going to be an eye chart. I had Perplexity find me the top 10 companies in terms of market capitalization, or their current value in the market, stock market in this case. And then tell me what the number of employees are. And I asked Perplexity to build a table and sort it in the order of market cap per employee. It flubbed that. So I took it over to ChatGPT, and boom, ChatGPT outputted the sorted list. So the very top company, let me start at the bottom. The bottom of that top 10 list is Amazon.
Wow.
Amazon has an enormous market cap, $1.6 trillion, but it has 1.3 million employees. So the market cap per employee is only on the order of magnitude of 1 million per employee.
Ooh, they suck.
No, as valuable as that is Jeff Bezos out there in the market, it's actually employed an enormous number of people, right? So there's a huge number of employees there. Okay, jump up to the top of the list. It's NVIDIA with $52 million per employee. They have only
how much was it?
$52 million
52. Okay.
Per employee. Okay, so NVIDIA only has about 19,000, and it's just reached 1 trillion in market cap.
Jeez.
So that's the range that you see in the most valuable companies, is from 1 million to 52 million, and we're talking about going from 52 million to a billion. But again,
right,
you'll get to do the asterisk by giving that $1 billion valuation to the one person very early in the life cycle of that company.
Right.
Beth, what do you think?
Well, I'm thinking about NVIDIA and like the long-term trajectory, because the market, for the reason that NVIDIA is valued so high, I'm seeing the trajectory like there's going to be more people coming in the marketplace, so that valuation may be going down a little bit. But I think so there's a famous paper that created the foundation for transformers called Attention is All We Need. And what I am thinking is some of the limitation is the limitation of human attention. So whether the AI is an agent and able to actually do things with digital monkey fingers, or like being able to create like action plans that a human can take, I think that AI really needs to be capable of holding the attention that a human would normally be the person who's doing that. And that, for me, but we had this conversation after the show at one point, and I was like, why would you if you could work with friends, right? Like, I mean, I'll take $500 million and share it with my buddy, right? And I think part of why I'm thinking that is because the idea that I would need to hold all of that attention for all of those roles, for me personally, feels not worth it. I believe Andy said you are naive. There are people who would totally do that, and yep, this may not be. I'm a quarter unicorn, no problem. I'm like super happy with it. So that's sort of where I'm coming from.
So that brings up, okay, so that you guys all bring up really good points here. And what I'm curious is, okay, let's turn to this hypothetical person, or we can expand to 3 or 5 or something like that. Okay, here's my thoughts on it. Number one, the person to do this, or persons, if we're going to expand out to that three-part team or something like that, 3-person team, this is not their first rodeo. My guess is this person that hits this will have had significant success in a similar area, and they're building on that. We see this a lot, like the Elon Musks of the world and stuff like that, where they boom, ba-boom, ba-boom, they jump up and then they hit like something like a Tesla and SpaceX or whatever. But it started back with PayPal or whatever, or Mark Cuban, or many others that can fit that role. So I think the people or person to do this, I definitely believe will have done something similar and close in the past. And what they might be doing is saying, I've had success. I struck lightning with a 30-person team 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think I could repeat it with AI agents, knowing what I know and my expertise in the field, and I could do it again. Also, my second part to that I want you guys' opinion on is I think this might be a super team. I think there's some people out there who are going to go, you're good at that. I'm good at this. You're good at that. We all collectively have done something up to maybe 500 million, and with small teams, and we've had success. We have market notoriety. We have a good head start. That's who I think we'll see do this first. I would be shocked. Could happen. I'd be shocked if this comes out of a garage somewhere, like they said in the article, Jyunmi, right? Like the lore, the folklore of like, Bill Gates, going away in his garage, or, or what's his face from Apple, doing the same thing, this idea that somebody somewhere is sitting in a, what's his face? Not that important. Small impact on society. The idea that somebody is in their garage today and saying, I have a sound understanding of AI. I will be able to leap the moment there are agents available, and I will be able to build and deploy them at scale. I have the ability to say to somebody, to an agent, go run this, build this marketing campaign and run this marketing campaign, meaning all ad spend and watching all ads. And like, do I believe this is capable in the future? 1,000%. I think we all do. Is it there today? Do I think you could do that? No, I don't. But it's going to take somebody, guy or girl, if that's the case, if we're not talking about people that already have had previous success, I think that's where it starts. But I also do believe that same person is going to have to be very charismatic. I think they're going to have to be just as good in a YouTube video, because we know that can be automated, and they're going to be out and known. I think they're going to be young. I don't think this is a 46. I turned 46 on Sunday. This is going to be a 46-year-old most likely, unless I had already had previous experience and I'd built up to this point, and I'm just waiting now for agents to do something I already know how to do. So anyway, I'll stop talking there, but that's where my brain is with this. But yeah, I don't know what you guys think.
I like the Super Friends idea, or the Voltron idea, right?
Yeah.
Just get your team of highly motivated, successful, or proven, I should say, individuals. Which gives me this thought where if you had enough together and you didn't mind the asterisks, couldn't you just rotate and then just everyone is a contractor? And then there's like 10 of you, and then each one is like, oh, it's my year to be the unicorn for the billion. Oh, okay, cool. So that's person A. And then person B, it's like, oh, this is my year to be the $1 billion unicorn. And just go through the cycle. I don't know. I was just thinking, it's like, well, if you don't mind the asterisks, I think Super Friends is a fantastic way to go with that.
There's one thing though that Brian, you mentioned, is that I don't think it necessarily needs to be from young or old or anything like that. I think the big key thing here is you understand some fundamentals of startup or running a business, but also have the fundamental knowledge of that agents, what you could do now with AI, and then what agents could do, right? And I think that's like the big gap, is that a lot of people don't know. They know how to run a business, but they don't necessarily know that AI could do all these things. I feel someone like GPT Boss could be someone who'd be like, well, wait a second, I built all these things initially, way back
early on.
Yeah. And I had this concept. Now I can actually make these bots do anything that I want it to do. So it all, maybe even not the business aspect, because the business aspect, your business development officer or your whatever strategist can tell you, hey, this is what you need to do, right? And so I feel once those agents are fully capable of doing a lot of things, and I don't think they'll be fully capable right out of the box. So I feel like you'll get to a point where you still have to have manual, but like every couple months you don't need that manual thing, because we're already seeing it at Google. If you run Google ads, you can literally let the AI run your ads because it's so much better at picking and choosing and creating and all that kind of stuff. So I don't
Right.
I don't see, it's not very far. All it needs is somebody who kind of fundamentally understands how these things work and how to connect the dots together, and then the AI can fill in the rest in a
So
way.
this leads us directly into a very important, broader societal implication of what we're talking about. If this can be done without humans, which is really what we're talking about doing, what happens in the long run when there isn't a labor force? There isn't a labor force benefiting from the huge economic windfall that's created for these players who are leveraging AI. And in the comments, Leah has offered a tangential point, which is it's not without consequences that some huge enterprise would gin up, because these things actually pollute the environment for the humans at some level, and you have to compensate for that. Where's the transfer? I'm not asking for a transfer of Bezos' wealth here, but I am saying you have a problem with exacerbation of income inequality in this idea that we're putting forward. So discuss.
Yeah, it's a solid point.
I do think, so something like from a climate, I can't remember what a couple of those articles I read where some new types of GPUs are being like either conceptualized or being tested that don't require as much energy as the current GPUs, and I think that's in
Yeah,
development,
Right.
right?
that's a very interesting news item just in the last day.
Yeah.
A kind of chip that's focused on LLM processing.
Yes.
Right.
I think it's at least an order of magnitude, less consumptive of energy in order to do the same generation.
Right.
Yeah.
And there have been ones that are based in biomimicry, so potentially more of a biologic process than rare earth mineral, right? So that would take that that would move it into something that could grow versus something that was mined, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No.
Oh, I was just going to say that also these are all great examples of continued development of the technology, because there's a lot of attention onto it right now, right? Same with just a loose example is solar panels or solar cells, right? When solar cells first came out, there wasn't a lot of attention to what was required to actually produce them, which is actually the early versions of solar cells were quite damaging. Required those rare earth materials. Their processing was fairly toxic and things like that. But we could see overall that once the technology developed enough, that today's solar cells are far more efficient, require far less harmful materials, and the processing has the whole entire process and procedure has become far more efficient. And now we are benefiting a lot from the development of that technology. So I think that's kind of how we have to look at this situation, and then the overall situation as well, right? When it comes to sustainability and power generation, energy use, and all those kinds of things. So it's going to be a lot of infrastructure changes in a lot of different areas that will help balance the time period for the development of this tech. Now, we definitely need to pay attention. And I think if sustainable technologies got more attention early on, then that development would proceed faster. So just just to highlight what that overall sustainable aspect to it. I also want to point out, Leah had a comment talking about the possible, I'm going to bring it up here, balkanization of companies because of access to AI tools. And this is sort of on the other side of what would happen to businesses as a whole or individuals as a whole because of the ability to be a one person shop, right? And to answer part of a question there, I think the I think having people have the tools to empower themselves to run their own businesses is going to be a good thing overall. I
Right.
think, like for most instances, yes, you will be solving a niche initially, identifying a problem area and trying to solve it. And just how good you are at that process will determine how popular it is. Do I think businesses naturally or people naturally will galvanize or work together, whether they're a super friends group or things like that? I think that'll happen as well, because we've seen through all of our history that humans are community based and work really well with each other when they have a united goal. So I don't think it'll represent too much of an issue. But again, we are in new territory. We've
Right.
never individually been this empowered in this arena at this level, adapting and evolving this quickly. So
And there is a mind shift that is required, but the U.S. and I'm an American, so that's what I know. We have made that shift already in terms of states. There are states that pay in more to our government funding than they receive. And there are states that pay in less and get great benefit from the states that pay in more, right? So that is already a balanced, relatively balanced. It's not balanced at all because we're the United States, but it is already a thing that states have agreed and understand and expect that is fair. The people paying in more feel like that's fair, right? Relatively speaking, the people receiving benefits from the people paying more feel that that's fair. We have not yet made that transition to on an individual basis, but that's sort of what I see as like the philosophy shift or the paradigm shift that I hope we're moving toward.
So as we sort of wrap this one up today, obviously we've covered a lot of the different ideas and concepts of what would it take. I'm just curious, to get you guys sort of around. We'll go around the horn, so to speak, like we used to. But I'm just curious, how many years are we away from? I'll let you pick if you want to do the 3 or the 1, but let's say 1. Let's just keep it the same for everybody. How many years are we away? No asterisks. It's got to be a single person, only person on payroll, $1 billion valuation, so unicorn status. And by the way, there's no data here on how long they need to hold that status, because we have certainly seen meteoric rises and then falls. So there's nothing here saying that they have to sustain it beyond a day, for that matter. Yep. But it needs to be verified. So how many years, days, weeks, months, I don't know, whatever you want to say, are we from seeing a true, pure case of this? I don't know. Beth's in my top left. So Beth, what do you think?
I want to go last. I do not know.
What do you think, Jyunmi?
I'll go first. I think the safe bet is 3 years.
3 years,
I think,
okay. Andy?
Yeah.
I won't quibble with that range. I think the situation which will cause it to occur within those 3 years will be a combination of a tremendous idea in the hands of somebody who's already worth $1 billion, right? Who's already demonstrated the ability to generate that kind of result. And you're basically giving them a valuation on their prospective business that they've come to you as an investor group with that is clearly going to achieve that. And so they say, okay, fine. we'll give you $100 million to start for 10% of the company.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna go with Leah here. So I'm gonna vote 2 years. Yes. Thank you, Leah.
I feel like I was on
that's-
The Price is Right and I got underbid.
Karl, you can go last. I'll throw mine in there so I don't have to go last. I think you guys are close. I think obviously I'm waiting on this hypothetical agent thing that we all kind of feel like is coming. How long do I think it's going to take? I mean, we're seeing already progress in that in 2024. So I'm going to push it a little bit farther out because I think it might just take a little bit more time for everything to come together. I'm going to say 5 years, but kind of like the moon landing, instead of 69, I'll say we're going to do it in 29. 29 is my. I'm staying with it. All right, Karl, last, bring us home.
Okay, well, if you take the 2, the 3, and the 5, I'll take the under within I'd say 1.5. So a year and a half. And
Okay.
I think it's less about, again, back to my thinking that someone like GPT Boss is going to put it together. And then, and I'm not, like you said, it only has to be for maybe like 5 hours. I'm like, that's all it takes, right? It could go up and it could right down. But I'm feeling in less than 2 years, so a year and a half, that you're gonna get something that's gonna be like, oh, what is this? Something like a rabbit or something like that would take off. But then people are like so excited, and then wait a minute, it's not like, and then it tanks. That's how I feel. It's like there's gonna be that one. It's not gonna be sustainable, but that's gonna kick off everything else.
Yeah.
Cool.
It needs a good hype train for sure.
Yes.
Okay. The rest of this week we have this has been a fun conversation. Tomorrow we have the news. We'll be talking about everything in the news. There's been a lot in the last week actually, so that would be fun. On Thursday, we're actually, Beth, you kind of talked about a little bit about, are we heading for U.S. sort of global dominance in AI, and what does that mean? Like, what are other countries doing? That'll be a fun conversation. That's on Thursday. And then Friday is our bi-weekly recap. We've already done one of those. Those are a lot of fun. Well, we're going to circle back. So we'll circle back to this topic on Friday. If we've thought of anything else or maybe looked up new information or dug a little deeper, we'll bring that back into Friday. We'll also talk about all the other topics like character AI and everything else we've talked about over the last 2 weeks. So that's what will round out the rest of this week. But this has been a fun one. Thank you to Leah. Thank you so much for all your amazing comments. We appreciate you very much. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, bye.
Aloha.